Good
question
go.
later.
30 seconds.
I don't feed myself. I hope I'm looking at John's terrible. But it's, I have none.
All right, we're on.
Good afternoon. This is day 4 of the legislative session. Time flies when you're having fun, right? We are working mostly in committees now and having a little bit of time on the floor. We heard from Congressman Stewart today that the federal government might be close to having a budget after not having a budget for 8 years, so I'm encouraged by that. But we welcome those on the internet who are watching us. This is our press and public availability time, and we'll go ahead and begin with any questions that media has for us.
Senator Urquhart today unveiled his hate crimes bill. Any thoughts from leadership on this?
I haven't seen the bill.
It would add sexual orientation, gender identity, and disability to the existing hate crime statutes, as well as toughening penalties. Do you think it's going to fly?
Well, that's a good question. That's something hasn't been on my radar screen. Anybody else here been on your radar screen?
It's going to be going to committee. Thank goodness for the process we have. It'll be heard in committee, and we'll see how it works out.
Probably not as easy as the sewer lateral bill.
If it enhances penalties, there'll be a fiscal note, I can tell you that. So, you need more room in the prison.
Well, I don't have a lot of comments about it, Ben, just because we haven't had a chance to look at or discuss it much.
Senator Stevenson,
I'm going to say that's kind of blending into last year. It seems like we dealt with a lot of those issues last year.
I wanted to ask you, Senator Stevenson, yesterday, we did a story about Mike's Hard Lemonade returning to grocery stores. They've modified their recipe so they no longer fall into the classification of flavored malt beverages. They are now classified as beer. They're out of liquor stores. They're in grocery stores. As the one who's been tasked with overseeing liquor laws, how do you feel about that?
Ben, I feel like you're way ahead of me on this. I have not heard a thing on this today. I do have a meeting tomorrow with ABC.
About what?
I don't know, just they called and asked me to set up an appointment, so. General ABC issues.
And what are you anticipating as far as legislation this year? What are you running?
We're in the process of, we have a hotel bill that we put together that would allow for hotel licenses and would cause hotels to put some licenses back into the system. Most hotels have to have 3 licenses to operate, at least the larger hotels. And so they would come back in, and then we would have, there's some a cleanup bill for ABC operations that we have in place. There's a bill, I believe it may have been numbered today and come out on tastings for breweries, distilleries, and wineries. Those are the 3 that are at the top of the list right now.
And then, of course, Senator Maine has her bills
Yes.
dealing with oversight.
Right.
Have you gotten a committee hearing yet on yours? Or
No, but they're in the process.
do you anticipate you'll get an amount of rules?
I think so. I would think that there's enough activity in the world, in Utah, that there's a lot of interest in retail stores. There's a lot of interest in how we run them. There's a lot of interest on how we treat the employees there. It's a multi-million dollar industry that we have. And so I think there'll be interest in the bills to see if we can find some other way to make them more effectively run.
Any other questions on alcohol?
I'll try to do that.
If nobody else runs the Zion's curtain bell, there's going to be something coming out on that, because this is something clearly the people of Utah have spoken out about. They don't like it. We ran some focus groups, and it turns out one of the biggest opponents of the Zion's curtain are male Mormons. And I mean, this is an off-the-charts kind of thing, and I think the state is going to have to deal with it.
The biggest opponents or proponents?
Opponents. I mean, they were...
Male Mormons.
Yeah, male Mormons do not like the Zion Curtain, and I don't know...
Oh, they don't like the Zion Curtain.
They don't like the
Okay.
Zion Curtain,
Oh, I
yeah.
see.
So I think the state is going to have to face that. This is simply not going to go away. It doesn't have anything to do with protecting law enforcement and those kind of things. It's just a relic of an old time, and it needs to be dealt with.
So are you going to run a bill if there isn't one?
If there isn't anything around, then somebody will have to do it. I'm hoping you will, but if you don't.
I think Representative Powell has the bill already
Yeah.
dealing with it. Are you saying now you'll co-sponsor it?
No, if my bill will be different than Representative Powell's. If there is one. I mean, I'm hopeful that that there'll be a more consensus kind of approach to this.
So are you running a bill or are you not?
We're drafting some stuff up, but it's not in concrete.
Okay.
Could I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
This is a very complicated issue. It isn't as easy as just taking down the curtain. There are dual licensing issues, there are grandfathering issues, and this is something that will probably take more time to get to. Or screw would be a better term.
The dual licensing issue is something that you, at the DABC meetings, have identified previously. Are you running any legislation addressing dual licensing this session?
At this point in time, there's a question mark next to that. We have not come to a conclusion on that. I have some bill files open that deal with alcohol issues, but they have not been drafted.
Gives new meaning to a boxcar. Back in Prohibition, boxcars of moonshine came out of the South.
And fun fact, Utah was the deciding vote to end prohibition.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Go figure. All right, any other questions, Lee?
House bill comes up today, taking a step towards a collection of online sales tax. Any thoughts about the general topic and how it'll fly over here?
I think we also have a bill over here. Senator Harper might have I'm pretty sure he has a bill also dealing with online sales tax. And well, it just goes to this whole issue that we're not getting the results that we need to out of Washington. This really is a commerce clause that crosses state lines. I mean, it's very clear to me. And Congress is not acting on it. Somebody says it'll pass this year. Well, it hasn't passed for the last 3 years. I'm not real optimistic about it. And so guess what happens? States are going to try and fix it themselves, and they're not going to be able to fix it effectively. But maybe if enough states are trying to fix it, maybe that will put some pressure on Congress to actually do something with the issue.
Are you expecting a lot of opposition to internet sales tax?
Yeah, there is some opposition. It really is those who are out there that it's the Overstock.com people, the eBay that don't want it. It's a lot of the big box retailers that have Nexus that do internet sales that want it because they feel like it's an unfair advantage. And we're concerned about the anemic growth in our general revenue fund through sales tax. For sure, a lot of those sales are being peeled off that people used to buy here and buy in a store, and they're now buying over the internet. And I'm not saying they're breaking the law. They're just not thinking about the law that we have on the books that they need to remit a sales tax on all those. And it's just, we're never going to be able to enforce that. It's never going to work well. And point of sale destination with out-of-state retailers, the destination is an important thing to fix. And sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Any concerns, though, that if you passed an internet sales tax and enacted it, you would scare away technology companies?
Well, I guess that's a possibility, but I haven't really heard from any technology company this is a problem other than eBay. I think most technology companies can see this coming down the pipeline. Even Amazon has considered we've got to do something, and I think even Overstock has come to the conclusion we're just not going to get away without some kind of a solution. So it's just that there's still some bickering over the two sides, as enough bickering that nothing gets done.
How much of a sales tax are you proposing? Is it just meet state sales tax existing, the 6.5, I think is what it is?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some different variations of that Streamline has worked on over the years. Is it, at least I think, and I just don't know enough about the federal bill, I can't remember, Ben, but the last bill that I had studied, it didn't give a one rate for the state. We have, I don't know, probably 30, 40, maybe even 50 rates here because each county is a little bit different, and there's ZAP tax in Salt Lake County, and so rates differ all over the states, all over our state. And then you complicate that with 46 states that have sales tax. There's, I think, 4 or 5 that don't. And that becomes fairly complicated. That's one of the arguments against doing this, because it's very complicated. But we live in a computer age, and so it's easy to look up the sales tax rate very easily on through through technology. And then there's the idea about the third parties just being responsible, those out there, and you hire one of those to do it. So I think there's ways to solve this and solve it easy for everybody. I think we've gotten past the need to have a one rate in the state, and then somehow distribute that might cause a little bit of complication. I think that eventually whatever passes will be something that everybody will have to remit to that based on where that cell originates. So if that's at my home, what's the tax rate at 3182 East Grand Woods Lane at Sandy? And that's what I think will end up being the law of the land.
So a tax rate based upon what zip code you live in?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The way I remember when it was before rev and tax, last year when we talked about it, it's a substantial amount of money for the state, somewhere around $58 million allowed.
Hundreds of millions.
190 this year, 190 million.
190. Wow, we're talking real money here.
200 and something thousand that was voluntarily remitted.
You're losing 190 million in sales tax revenue per year.
That's it, yes.
This year.
That's,
I'd like to add this component to it. I have a neighbor who has a small family business up in Logan, and he sells appliances. And he said it really bothers him to have people come in and look through his appliance. He takes time with them. They write down the serial numbers and leave. He said, I know darn well they go and they buy it on the internet. Well, this merchant pays property taxes, he employs employees, he contributes to the Little League football team, those community things, and he can't compete because the people that save 6.5 cents sales tax have the goods delivered to their home. So to me, the money is one thing, but to me the more important thing is the local merchant who's invested in our community, invested in all of this, and he's not on a competitive level.
But doesn't that speak to the nature of him being competitive as a business? I mean, that would certainly be the argument made by online companies and opponents to this, is that they need to be more competitive.
That's right. They should not collect sales tax. That makes them competitive. That's the competition difference, and they have no control over that.
A 6% break off the start for the internet sales is pretty substantial on large items like appliances and cars and all the things that are being sold on the internet.
And I've had the lobbyists say, well, but we have to ship it. And I said, my friend didn't grow that refrigerator in his garden. He had to ship it there too. But it is the same.
Well, and I think you're looking at generations that completely shop practically on the internet. They're buying duct tape. They're not just buying Christmas presents. They're completely shopping. And now they can even have their groceries brought to their, so we're getting into this generation, into this culture of it's brought to me. And they buy everything. It's just not, even a few years ago, they would make Christmas shopping and whatever. Now it's everything. Everything comes to them. So we are where we are. And I think that we need to be mature as a state and the federal government. We need some equity because it will just even grow bigger. I don't know how it can grow bigger. My kid bought a whole bunch of duct tape the other day rather than go to the store. So, I mean, they're used to that. They go to the internet to buy whatever they choose. And it's like Christmas. They open the door and there's a package. They love it.
And Ben, when we're quoting numbers here, 190 million, that kind of thing, I think those are kind of estimates. And I'm not sure if you want to quote us on those numbers. You might want to verify those with the fiscal analyst. That's my only caution with using some of these numbers. But I know that it's north of 150 million, at least that's the estimates that I've seen. So,
How many bills have been opened so far now? Where are we at on that? Anybody the keeper of the numbers?
I haven't
The
kept
last
track.
time we heard, we were 70 ahead of the total that was filed last year, and that was 2 or 3 days ago. And there were still 60 or 70 priority bills that have not been used yet, so we anticipate quite a few more. So we're considerably ahead of where we were last year.
So 70 plus bills above what you had last year, which was 1,255, I think.
Yeah.
But let me answer it this way. Number one, I think we're far more effective in what we've been doing in the interim meetings. And so a lot of them, I want to compliment President Niederhauser and some of the work and direction they've given us to be more directive. And so we're doing a lot of the work in the interim that traditionally we didn't do. And second, that is an election year. So I think some people file bill requests as part of the re-election campaign so they can, when they campaign in November, can say, I've done this or I've tried to do this or this. So I think that's typical on an election, on the legislature before an election.
The part I don't get about that is we passed 500 plus bills last year. I can't see us even having the infrastructure or the ability to pass 600 bills or 70 more bills, and so that's just 70 more bills. At least we hope that don't pass, because I think there should. We're not setting limits, obviously, but the amount of time we're in session is a barrier to the number of bills we can pass. And anyway, we'll deal with it. We have the process; they're all in place, and the process is in place. We'll see what happens in 4 days, 41 days, 42 days.
And you'll see the crying on the last night as owls around the board.
Get it right. Isn't the process just a phrase for I'm crushing your bill like a bug?
Any other questions?
Caucus today?
Yes, we have caucus today.
Yes, we have caucus today.
Yeah. One's closed and one's open, as I understand it, so.
Have you
What's on
opened
the
up your
agenda
caucus?
tonight?
Why didn't you tell us?
We're kind of going down the list. I think we're going to be talking about fairgrounds issues today. We may revisit
Speaker, he's on.
medical marijuana a little bit. I think we didn't get quite at all of the education that was going to be presented on those.
What you doing?
Yeah,
What kind of education you getting in caucus?
yeah. Trials. No, not quite that much.
Anything from our internet
Yes.
viewers? Oh, yes.
Bet you can't guess who the first one's from this year.
That's from Logan.
Jason Williams, KVNU, wants Senator Hilliard to comment on his speed trap bill.
What are you talking about? No, I filed a bill motivated mainly by complaints I'm hearing about people who drive through Manaway on their way to Logan and are astounded at times of day, the locations when there's nobody else on the road but them, and they get pulled over for going a few miles over the speed limit. And so I was surprised. I think it was Channel 2. One of the stations had a clip about that. And I think you need to listen to that, and then you'll understand my concern about the cities or towns, really, who are making money off of speeding people who don't even really impact their city. So my response is I'd like to see how many people in Manaway get tickets for breaking, I assume 25-mile-an-hour speed limit through downtown Manaway, compared to those people who have nothing to do with Manaway or just on that road. So we're going to talk about it, because I personally do not like to have either direct or indirect motivation to police officers and to courts to generate money to operate city operations. Traffic fines certainly have a place, and we need to have safety, but I think it's the point that I've had enough people complain about how they're treated by there, that I think it's an issue we need to look at as a state.
Okay, any other things, Kirsten?
No, sir.
All right. Adios, and till tomorrow.